My theory's a bit insane. It's a bit unlikely, but it's interesting and it's worth talking about. But if it does happen, I told you so.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Motion Listen podcast. I'm Elliot, and I'm joined by Zach. Hello.
Yeah, hello everyone. Episode 2, who'd have thought, El? We got a second episode out already.
Bloody madness. Bloody madness. Right, so what are we going to be talking about today, Zach?
Well, we're going to be talking about WandaVision theories. If for some reason you're listening to this much later on, FYI, we are up to episode 4 at the minute, so these are theories based on what we've seen so far. So if you're watching this after episode 9, where we know everything, then there's no point in you listening to this.
Also, it might be worth noting that there might be some spoilers in this if you haven't watched it, the WandaVision series already, so just be warned before you start listening.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think probably best to start is what we know so far up to episode 4. So, we know that it's set after the events of Endgame.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
To be exact.
So, with episode 4 highlighting just after everybody gets brought back after the blip. So we start to get a backstory for Monica, which was the character that we saw flung out of the pocket universe, which Wanda was in episode 3. And as I say, Wanda's in some sort of pocket universe. We don't know how she got there, and we know that Vision is there as well, which is a bit strange considering that he died in Avengers Endgame. So still needs a bit of explanation as we go through. We also see some returns of some older characters from old series. So Agent Wu, which was Scott Lang's parole officer in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Dr. Darcy Lewis, who's now a doctor after, who appeared in Thor and Thor: The Dark World. So I think that's a bit of a backstory to where we can start on our theories, isn't it?
No, I realised what we did there. We basically just read out all the questions that Agent Wu wrote down on the whiteboard in episode 4. Remember?
I think that they anticipated what all the fans was going to ask, and then, like you said, he just wrote them down on the whiteboard, and everybody. It was kind of like a hint to the community, like these are all the questions that you're asking.
thing with Marvel, they know the fans so well, they already know what questions they're going to be asking before like they've even aired the show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's enough backstory, really. We don't want to go too much into detail. As I said,
I'm sure the people listening have watched it, and they're going to understand what we're going on about.
Right, so I think the first place to begin, Zach, is with your theory, isn't it? So, do you want to explain what you think?
My theory's a bit insane. It's a bit unlikely, but it's interesting and it's worth talking about. Basically, my theory is that Ultron is back as the villain, working with either Agnes or Mephisto or the Grim Reaper, any one of these villains, and he's using infiltrated Stark Bath technology to project this fake Westview world that Wanda is living in. And the Bath technology is the like realistic holographic technology we've seen in Spider-Man: Far From Home and Civil War. I think this because the whole thing just looks like a holographic bubble to me. The way the CGI of the bubble around Westview is like rendered and everything, it looks very technological to me, which looks something quite similar to when we saw Spider-Man go inside the holographic projection in Far From Home.
Yeah.
And I also think that Ultron has an involvement because the reason we're seeing sitcoms is because Ultron, when he was first born in Age of Ultron, he went through like human history straight away, just like that, all in order, and from all the files on on the internet and everything. And who's to say he saw the order of these television shows like sitcoms, and that's why we're seeing them play out in different eras and orders.
Yeah.
the same way that he viewed them when Ultron was born. And there is also a digitally removed Mephisto Easter egg in Avengers, which hints Shield tried to make deals with the devil to learn more about the Infinity Stones. So basically, I think Ultron, because he's a like a technological being, like he can survive without a physical form. Well, in the comics he can. It hasn't really been confirmed in the MCU, but I can't see why not, like why they wouldn't do this. Um, so I think Ultron has made a deal with the devil, aka Mephisto, after learning Shield tried to after learning from the Shield files that they the humans themselves tried to make a deal with the devil to learn more about the Infinity Stones, and making this deal to manipulate Wanda's powers to get Mephisto into this reality from his realm, which is hell, and to get his revenge on Wanda and Vision. And it might be thinking, why would he need to get his revenge on Wanda and Vision? Well, he's already killed Quicksilver, who basically was an ally to him for a bit and betrayed him by joining the Avengers. Tony Stark is also now dead, so there's no revenge he can get on them. The only two would be Vision, the body that got away, which he wanted, and also Wanda, who was also a traitor to Ultron after serving as an ally for half of Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
And I think he's made this deal to get this revenge and to help Mephisto manifest himself into this realm, because because he wants to make the deal to get the body that he wanted in Age of Ultron, which was Vision's body.
Yeah.
And Mephisto is a character known to be able to create things like he's known to create life like this. Or if the Grim Reaper, he is also known to be able to take mind and place it into a deceased living or living body. So both these characters are potentials that Ultron has made deals with to get himself into a body and back into the MCU, and we'll see him come back as quite a big villain. And excuse me. And the reasons I have to back this theory is Agnes wears a pendant with three figures standing side by side. This is probably possibly a visual representation of Ultron, Mephisto, and Agnes, or the Grim Reaper, however you want to see it. In the black and white episodes, the color red sometimes glitches through. This is a visual glitch of Ultron's control, as when Ultron is present in a body, the color red glows within that body. And
Yeah.
I think we're seeing this in a sort of digital way. And or it could just be that's Wanda's colors or powers, but I like to think it isn't. The visual effects, like I said, they look like they're glitching, but with magical mist, maybe some influence from Agnes on top of the technology. And and when physical objects change in scenes in the show, can be rewinded like they're a video projection. So that explains the rewinding. Like the bath technology is just a video projection, so it could easily be rewinded or something. And there are many Sokovia and Hydra nods plus Easter eggs seen throughout the episodes aired. Key plot points from the Age of Ultron movie. And the Nightmare Realm is confirmed for Doctor Strange 2. This could be a potential home for Mephisto in the MCU, setting him up as the main villain for Doctor Strange 2, set to take place connected to reality-bending events in WandaVision, also starring Wanda as a side character in the Doctor Strange movie. So that's why I think Ultron might be back, because he's using infiltrated bath technology with magical influence from characters like Agnes or Mephisto to create this digital world to get his revenge on Wanda and Vision. Boom.
Boom. Yeah, so as you say, that's quite a big theory. I'd like it to be true, really would, because we haven't seen Ultron
realistically, it just isn't, is it?
No, but the thing is, we know that Ultron is still alive. Like, there was nods at the end of
Yeah.
Age of Ultron that he's still alive, and we haven't seen him since. Like, I think we talked about this before. Like, we could have seen him in the Infinity War or in Endgame, but we didn't. So where is he? What is he up to? Has he been sort of repairing and preparing for something else? We don't really know. And like you said, I'd love it to be true, but like you said, the more we get through the episodes, the more it seems to become less and less true,
Yeah,
which
I
is a
think I've
shame.
gone too far advanced into this theory. It's almost too complicated to be true because you got to think Marvel wants to address plot points to a large audience.
Yeah.
No one else is gonna get something like that in the storyline unless they're like me and you. They're familiar with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
MCU and the
yeah.
characters and the comics and that kind of thing.
But
So
I
it's insane. It's far fetched. It probably won't happen. Well, it's not gonna happen. But if it does happen, I told you so.
but yeah, I think the stuff about Agnes and Mephisto is pretty much a lot of that comes from the comics, so a lot of that is pretty likely to happen. So I think we will. I really see it going two different ways. So I either see it being this pocket universe that Wanda's created on her own, potentially with the help of Agnes, um,
Yeah.
is a way of her dealing with the trauma. So the loss of her brother and the eventual loss of Vision in Endgame. So that's one potential. But then there is the other potential, like I said, but that's based on the comics, with the idea that Mephisto is kind of having having an effect on Wanda and sort of controlling what she does and getting her to eventually bear the two children, which he can essentially sort of take away. So
Yeah.
those are my two different routes that it could go down. I'd like it to include Mephisto because then we've got a new villain in the MCU.
Yeah. And Mephisto, like, he's a villain that should be more powerful than Thanos.
Yeah,
He's a character who's able to cast illusions. He can change memories. He can alter time. He's immortal.
yeah.
Like
So
all these things
not only
he
do we
can
have a
do
more
without Infinity Stones. Like,
yeah. So not only do we have him more powerful, but he's a bit different. So he's, like you said, with the idea that he's going to get potentially introduced into Doctor Strange if we have the Nightmare Realm. Like there's that potential that this is sort of an introduction to the character, which then we have in later films. And obviously we've got to see some sort of step up from Thanos, because we've had
yeah,
Thanos and this whole idea of Infinity Stones. So how are we going to see them one up that because of how good Infinity War and eventually Endgame was as like two films? How are we going to see them step it up a level? So
yeah,
I think this is a good introduction to the character of Mephisto if they decide to bring him in, to eventually sort of snowball effect, kind of get him through a couple of other films and stuff. And it's
yeah.
great that we're potentially seeing new villains enter the MCU, especially so early on in Phase 4.
And what we're seeing in the show so far as well, it is pointing towards Mephisto.
Yeah,
Like I said, Mephisto's powers, he can cast illusions, change memories, alter time. What have we been seeing in this show? We've been seeing different time periods,
yeah,
people with no memory of who they are.
yeah,
Um, we're seeing time getting rewind as well, so that's time being changed. So
yeah,
something behind the scenes is allowing these things to happen,
yeah,
and it all correlates with the powers that Mephisto has and he's known to have. And also there's little not in the little toaster advert in one of the black and white episodes, there's
yeah.
an engraving in the toaster and it looks like 666, and 666 is like
Sign of the
the common
Devil.
symbol, a sign of the devil. Yeah.
Yeah, which essentially Mephisto is Marvel's devil, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah.
But also as well, there's a lot of hints to the color red. So when Dottie cuts a hand on the glass, there's the color red on her hand. The helicopter's red, after previously being sort of blue, red, and yellow. Um, there's just a lot of different signs of red, which again we associate the color red with a sort of hell or the devil,
Yeah.
or so there is little nods. But like I said, I think it's either going to shoot down one of two paths. It's either going to be sort of Wanda's in control and she's being influenced by uh, Agnes, or we're going to get her, Agnes, and Mephisto all sort of involved in the plot line.
Yeah, and that can correlate with the three people we see in Agnes's pendant, which she's worn in every single one of her appearances so far.
Yeah.
Which is Wanda, her, and Mephisto. But the MCU could decide that Mephisto could be a bit too obvious to introduce in this story, because it'll be literally exactly the same to the comics.
Yeah.
So they could potentially bring the villain, the Grim Reaper, into this story as the villain. I say this because you can see the character's helmet in the animated intro for one of the black and white episodes.
Okay.
And which is obviously a nod to him. Whether it's leading up to him or it's just a nod, we don't know yet. Yeah. But in the comics, Vision meets with the Grim Reaper and offers him a proposition. And that was basically, if Vision aided him to getting revenge on the Avengers, he would transfer Vision's mind into the body of the deceased and preserved Wonder Man. Wonder Man is another Marvel superhero character who is also the brother to the Grim Reaper. Within this storyline, he dies somehow. And this kind of makes sense as well, because we've seen concept art of Wonder Man in the backgrounds of behind the scenes footage of WandaVision.
Yeah.
And from this we learn that the Grim Reaper's powers, like, he is able to take the mind of someone and put it into a deceased body. They could replicate this story but change the shoes. They could have Wanda in Vision shoes asking the Grim Reaper for this deal for some kind of like aid of the Grim Reaper for something villainous that he has.
Yeah.
With darker intent, let's say.
We also have the idea that in the comics as well, there's that Wanda can actually bring people back and put them back into bodies. So there's always the potential that it could just be Wanda. Again, that backs up more the fact that it's just her on her own and that we don't have any villains or any other characters. But it's a curious thing to ask. Like, are we gonna see a villain? Are we not? Is it going to be Mephisto if it is, or is it going to be the Grim Reaper? Is it going to be someone completely different that we're just missing?
Or we're literally already watching the villain, and the villain is literally just Wanda, and all of this is Wanda's work.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have a theory on that, and that's everyone we see in Westview in this fake world.
Yeah.
They're actually all dead. Yeah. And all their bodies are being reanimated by Wanda.
Okay,
And I think this because I think that's what Herb was going to say. When he was cutting down the bush and he kind of like glitched himself and started going through the wall.
Yeah.
And he was saying about Monica when she was in the house with Wanda. She was saying that she came here because we're all, and then Agnes stopped him from finishing that sentence. I think he was going to say she came here because we're all dead.
Yeah.
And all their bodies are being reanimated with magic and etc.
Yeah.
And this also makes sense as well to why we saw Vision as dead Vision for a split second.
Yeah.
Maybe because Wanda lost focus and forgot to have him reanimated in that moment because of the encounter she had with Monica.
Yeah.
And also, it's slightly confirmed as well by Paul Bettany himself, who plays Vision.
Yeah.
Because in a press interview whilst promoting the show, he basically says there was originally going to be a post-credit scene for Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they moved it for Black Widow, but obviously Black Widow never came out before this.
Yeah.
So we've never really seen this post-credit scene. But the basis of this post-credit scene is basically it shows Vision in a body bag or a morgue, something like that, and we see his body get taken away by a mysterious figure. The mysterious figure could either be Wanda taking the body, reanimating it, then creating this Westview world.
Yeah.
And living this happy life. And the reason why we're seeing it as sitcoms as well is because those are the kind of shows Wanda grew up watching, and it's in her mentor, the idea of a perfect life, how these sitcoms portrayed it to her.
Yeah. There is one about obviously a lot of people are trying to say that it's sort of Wanda trying to deal with her trauma, and if we do see either Mephisto or Agnes, she's under like the control of them essentially. But what we see, again, going back to the whole idea of Vision, or even when Vision sort of picks it up and says something's not right here, what's happening is that's Wanda's subconscious telling her that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
But then Mephisto sort of clocks on, changes it and rewinds it, and then, or is that, again, if we're going down the line of that Wanda's the villain here, is it Wanda's subconscious clicking in and then Wanda going, no, I want to live my perfect life, and then just changing it back?
No idea really who's in control. Another thing that backs it up being mainly Wanda who's in control of all this is where they mention that the whole field is producing CMBR energy, cosmic microwave background radiation.
Yeah.
And they say in the show that this is the same energy that dates back to the Big Bang. We were explained to in Infinity War by Wong, when the Big Bang happened, it created the 6 Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
And they've been with us since. And Wanda's powers were activated by an Infinity Stone. So it would make sense that it would produce the same radiation, her powers would, as an Infinity Stone would.
Yeah. We also get another point where the guy in the bee suit comes out with the sword logo on his back, and we also get that idea that she goes no, and everything after she says no kind of rewinds back to a point where they're sat back inside or they're doing something else inside. So there is a lot of hints that she's in control, but then is she under the influence of somebody else, such as Mephisto? We don't really know. Hence why we're kind of just brainstorming theories at the moment. But I think a lot's going to get explained in the next episode or two.
Yeah, because if Wanda is the one who is fully in control of all this, it makes me wonder what Agnes's role is. Because when we see them identifying everyone they're seeing in Westview, and they're getting all their licenses up and everything, Agnes doesn't have one. And everyone's identified by their full original name, not their fake names that they've been given in Westview. Agnes is just Agnes. So Agnes is unidentifiable. So she must play some kind of important role. And like I said, she's obviously like some kind of live action version of Agatha Harkness from the comics.
Yeah. We also see there's not a single page for Dottie, which is the woman we see in the second at the swimming pool party, the one that Agnes says sort of controls everything around the town. So there's two potentials that I thought for this. She could either be Mephisto, which is a bit far-fetched, or she's the missing person that we see that Agent was looking for in the start of the episode.
That's a good idea, actually, because that is a whole side plot in itself, because that's originally why Agent Wu was there looking for the missing person on the missing person case, wasn't he?
Yeah. So
that's interesting, actually. But I personally don't think she has a major role. If she does, it's very unexpected.
Yeah.
But I don't think she would.
As I say, it's a far-fetched idea, but I just thought with sort of the hints that she's the one in control around here, and even that comes out of Agnes's mouth, it's kind of like maybe hinting towards it. But more so, like I said, I think potentially she's the missing persons case.
Yeah. We're apparent. There's rumours about this whole show leading to absolute multiverse madness. We could even see Doctor Strange make an appearance at the end of this show. But there's also Evan Peterson's character. He is casted in this show. It's official that he's in this, but we don't know who. But he's the same actor who played Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movies.
Okay.
And he's now casted in this. It'll be very odd if they've made his Quicksilver come into this world, which I don't think has happened. But if they have, then it's a step into that multiverse thing.
Multiverse, yes, yeah. So it is a curious thing, yeah. But I think that's kind of the road we're going down. Is just multiverse in general, isn't it? Right. So now I've gone through a lot of the villain and the storyline sort of theories that we've got. Maybe it's best finishing on the Monica side story or the potential of a backstory for her here.
Yeah, I think this show is not just a WandaVision show. I think it's a Monica Rambeau origin story show. I think we're witnessing her backstory and set up to becoming the superhero Photon. I think this because her mother's story parallels a lot to Peggy Carter's story, both having influence on organisations like S.H.I.E.L.D. and S.W.O.R.D.
Yeah.
And both their deaths happened off screen, which influenced the superhero story. And so like Peggy to Cap and Maria to Monica.
Yeah.
But the reason I think we're witnessing her origin stories and her becoming a superhero is there's no when we first see her, there's no signs that she has any some kind of superpowers or anything. But as soon as Wanda shoots her off outside of this grid, I'm thinking, well, she took some of this energy with her outside of this grid of Westview, and this has spawned the powers within her. Because in the trailers for the next episodes, we see him scanning Monica's body and everything. I wonder if they're going to scan it and find that she's carrying this energy, and this going to give her those energy powers that she has in the comics.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. We also see a hint at it when she first goes back to S.W.O.R.D. and her mom's photos on the wall as the sort of the creator of S.W.O.R.D., and that her call sign when she was obviously a fighter pilot was actually Photon. Yeah,
I think the MCU is going to go with the Photon route, calling her Photon. In the comics, she's had 3 titles, one of them being Photon and another one being Captain Marvel, that title being passed down to her from Carol Danvers. And the other one I think is called Saber or something like that. I've probably got that wrong. But in the MCU, I think they're going to go with the Photon route and her being the superhero Photon, because Captain Marvel still exists in this universe, so it'd be weird to have 2 Captain Marvels, and it would make sense.
She's quite fresh, isn't she? She's quite a fresh hero, so maybe they don't want to kind of pass that mantle on for now. So I agree with that.
But they could pass that mantle on in a future film, maybe. We'll wait and see.
Yeah.
But calling her going down the Photon route makes much sense because it works in line with her mom's storyline, being Photon and that as well. So I think we are witnessing the origin story of another MCU superhero within this show.
I agree, and I think again with the next couple of episodes that we see, I reckon a lot more explanation is going to be going into that, and we'll see whether it is actually going to be a backstory or not.
Yeah.
So, is there any other theories? I think we've covered the majority of them there, haven't we?
I think we've gone over too much, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Lots of
hopefully
ideas.
People are still listening and we haven't bored them too much.
Apologies from blabbing on.
Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you like us on all the social media pages and you're following us on everything, so you keep up to date with everything else we release.
If you haven't tuned into episode 1, give it a listen. It's quite long again. Apologies in advance, but we should be releasing content weekly. So I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you very much.